and welcome to Everyday Connection Now with your hosts, Niki Norlock and Richard O. Shields, bringing your inner light to your everyday life. I'm Richard O. Shields, and once again, through the miracle of technology, right here with me, Niki Norlock. How are you, Niki?
I'm awesome. It's my first show in the new studio. That's
Yay.
exciting.
Congrats.
So I'm surrounded by indigo walls and violet trim and blue ceiling. So that's fun.
Because you not only painted this for your studio, it pretty much was custom built just for you, just for you.
Yes.
How cool is that?
It's still it is very cool. My husband's awesome. It's still being built. We have a floor to install and the trim needs to be completed, but all our windows and doors and walls are in. So that's pretty cool.
Very cool.
And
because folks don't know, you and family have just had the better part of a month long marathon. That's really our current event. Is that I feel like it's been forever since we did a couple of shows in there, but it feels, I don't know, like forever since we did this. But one reason it feels that way, and folks may have noticed, we have decided in all of our wisdom to pull the show back to once a week.
Yes.
We've always focused on quality, but we're going to reduce the quantity a little bit because, as we've mentioned mysteriously several times, there's some surprises coming up. And
yes.
And some changes and some things. And
yes.
What do we tell them about that? It's getting closer, so tell them something.
It's getting closer. Well, just to keep an eye on the website.
You might actually
everydayconnection.me. It's not going to change. Sure. But as far as what's coming, let's not tell them until it's here. But there's some stuff.
there's some stuff happening.
Yeah, it's going to be different around Everyday Connection.
It's got us hopping and popping and busying to try to keep up, but it's going to be good. Surely it's going to be good.
Speaking of keeping up, I have news from Germany.
Yeah?
Yeah. Just released 6 hours ago through the Beyond Strength fan page. We have been granted our interview with the Filipino embassy in Berlin. So Lucian is headed to Berlin.
All right.
To get the final interview for the film.
So
that's exciting.
Lucian's, don't be confused, folks. Lucian is from Germany, but he's also often not there because he's here, there, and everywhere a little.
There. He just got back from Asia again.
Again. And
we do love Asia.
Wasn't he just there in Canada, or he's talking about coming to Canada? He said something about Montreal on your page the other day.
Yes, he's talking about it. Hoping he's going to pop by here, but he's going to have to go to Berlin first, obviously. Because, hey, the Philippine embassy, that's a big one for the film. So, yeah, and then the edit they'll be finishing editing, and then like he promised, I guess the film's going to be ready by the end of the year.
By the end of the year, sort of a holiday thing.
Who
knew? It's your Christmas present from George and Lucian.
Yes, Merry Christmas. Here's your film, 5 years in the making, but we finished it. Yeah, I'm very excited.
Awesome.
It's
awesome.
Been a month.
It's been a month.
It's been a month.
And there's been lots of good, cool current events things happening. But I felt like your current event was pretty cool. Second dream house in 2 years. Busy woman. But really, they've been painting at the new house, painting at the old house, cleaning in the new house, cleaning in the old house, sorting out furniture, move this over there. And it's not quite done yet, but close.
Just one more day of cleaning. at the old house, but I have now painted, I think, 12 rooms between the two houses.
Yeah. So needless to say, we just want to let everybody, if you're waiting for her next, mural or painting to be revealed online, there might be a little break in the painting coming up because
Yes,
paint and
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Just saying. I'm just saying, All right. Well, that's fantastic news. I didn't even know that, folks. She pulled one on me. Pulled a fast one on me. And
I did. Well, I just found out.
news about Berlin, which is
Yes.
also interesting since tonight's guest is in Berlin at this very minute.
Right?
And,
How cool is that?
Right?
Synchronistic.
These things just happen. It's no planning, no work.
It just is.
Which is good because we have rooms to paint and audios to edit and things.
Yes.
Anyway, we're going to pause for a few words from our friends, and when we come back, we will have with us tonight's guest live from, recorded for you guys, live for us from Berlin. So stick with us, folks. All right, welcome back, everybody. Well, as I mentioned before the break, we have joining us from Berlin, awesome human being, Kasimir Kurt. Welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you.
Excellent. So glad that you were able to carve some time out of your schedule and join us and come play in our sandbox.
My pleasure.
Awesome.
That's so cool. He even sounds like Lucien.
Yeah. Surprising that.
It's got the same laugh, too. That's awesome.
Must be the microphone.
I don't know if it's a microphone or if it's I don't know. You're both
German
young
Skype
men from
lines
Germany. I guess. I don't know. But yeah, he has the same laugh. My little filmmaking friend from Germany.
We are tapping into the same energies here, so that might be it.
Probably. Very probably a truth. Absolutely. So I guess the big question of the day, we have to ask it. Who on earth are you and what do you do?
Wow, this is a very difficult question. Basically, I'm living my life and enjoying my life a lot, and I'm sharing my gifts with other people. So I live a completely quote-unquote normal life, but I'm also sharing my intuitive gifts with people and to, let's say, connecting those people with their inner guidance, like deeper levels of their guidance, and giving sessions and workshops. So I don't know, it's a really difficult question because there are so many layers to it, but I guess this sums up it like a little.
That's the short version. But since we have 90 minutes, how did you get started with this? You're still fairly young to be doing this kind of work. I've seen your pictures.
Yes.
You're a baby.
Right. Well, I don't know. It's not something I started doing consciously. I was saying, okay, I now start being this or doing this. I actually was born that way. But it took quite a while till I realized that it was real and that other people would also recognize it as real and it wasn't just like in my world. And that brought some little shock to me. And then I started actually stepping out in the public slowly. So basically I lived almost, I don't know, a big part of my life, my early life, just being somewhat conscious, but not stepping out in the public with my gift. And then later on, I just came out, but it's more detailed than that. It's a little difficult to explain. So why don't you ask me a question, like a little more direct question?
Well, I try to avoid the direct questions because the direct questions usually steer you to where I think you should go. And this is all about you. You know, I mean, it's been my experience that a lot of people that we've talked to have had a series of experiences growing up that have kind of made them go, and then they kind of lose connection for a while for whatever reason. And then they have this massive aha moment. So did you have a massive aha moment?
Oh, yes, a few. Okay, let's start like this. So basically I came in with all my abilities And I stopped talking to my guides basically when I was going to school. They were telling me that there was some moment of disconnection, that I should kind of like play in the regular world, this regular human being basically, without all those connections. And there was a goodbye moment. I don't know how old I was. I was probably 5 or 6 or something. And then throughout puberty and all this high school time, basically, I had them in the background, but I was more operating from a mind space, just being this young being. And then slowly through yoga and meditation and just different self-awareness techniques, I was slowly stepping back in consciousness. But basically the biggest event was when I was 16. Actually, I was doing a lot of yoga, like say like 2 hours in the morning, and meditating and chanting and walking and living barefoot and whatnot. And at some moment, I actually died when I was 16. And that was actually, I didn't realize that I was dying with 16. Only a few years later, I just thought I had some, how do you call this, mosquito disease, sickness and hallucinations and whatnot. But actually, I was laying in bed and I was really tired, and it was somewhat of a late evening. And should I tell the story, or should I just continue on the time?
Yes, please.
Yes,
Okay.
please tell the story.
I was in a point at my life where everything was working perfectly, everything was beautiful, and my days were really filled with a lot of stuff. So I was doing all my hobbies, I was doing all my schoolwork back then, and I was living with my parents in Africa. And that was a really, really nice day, and everything was perfect and fulfilled. But at the end of the day, I was really tired. This was this kind of tiredness where the lights start to be a little bit like intense for your eyes. And you have this kind of like humming vibration in your body, like if you're really, really tired in a nice way, not in a bad way. And so I was going to bed just after taking a shower, and I was laying down on the bed. And I just had one thought working around in my head, and I wanted to follow that thought till I was going to sleep. But I was so tired that my body was actually falling asleep. And I know what many of you might be thinking right now. Yeah, so you went out of body. Not exactly, because I will tell you the out of body part later on. But actually, I was feeling. Do you know this feeling when you're in a reclining chair, like one of those office chairs which work as a recliner?
Yes.
Yes.
Can kind of like tilt a little bit backward. I was having the same feeling while I was laying down, and all of a sudden I was feeling this strong pull, and I was feeling amazing. This feeling was undescribable. It was like if I was everything around me, and it was a sphere of white light. Oh my God, my heart starts to beat. This experience is really intense in my memory. And I don't know about the size of a football. And I was floating in the corner, and I was seeing a 360-degree angle, everything in the room. And from the feeling space, I was everything. But yet I was looking at everything at the same time, and there was this visual separation. So there was this really, really warm, loving feeling. And this visual separation between objects, and everything was illuminated by a beautiful light. So it wasn't too bright and it wasn't too dark. And by that time it was already dark in my room. I don't know, it was maybe 11 or midnight or something. And after recalculating all those hours, I knew that the phase lasted about 2 or 3 hours. And it was amazing. And it was really, really weird, because there was some kind of personality. And after a while I understood that I was the sphere, and that this sphere had some kind of personality. But then yet I was also understanding that my body was, or something like a corpse was lying there, and I was like, was that my body? And the sphere was slowly moving. It took a few hours for it to move somewhere, and to comprehend all this, I would say, interdimensional experience. And this feeling was so amazing, so warm and so loving. And then I was slowly moving through the room, and I had 3 voices. And actually, they were having a conversation with me, and it was about to leave this plane. And I was like, no, I don't want to leave this plane. I understand that the bigger part of me is this fear, and that my body is laying down there. It's really difficult to put this experience in words. I'm trying my best here. And maybe I might be leaving something out, but anyways.
No, you're doing
And
great.
they were, sorry?
No, you're doing great.
Oh, thank you. I'm already sweating, so intense is this memory, because the most intense part was when I was actually getting back into body, but I come to that in a second. And those three voices were really warm and loving, but yet somewhat intense and quote unquote authoritarian. And they were like, you better go. But I was like, go where? I mean, I want to continue my life. And they were showing me three images in the air, like almost like TV screens with probable outcomes of my life, my future life. They're saying this is what is most likely to happen, and they were not so nice. I was like, I don't care, I want to go back. And then they were saying, you better leave and you go the left way of your room, and there will be something like an invisible portal and you will be out of this. But I'm like, can I see the other side? I want to know what's there. I cannot see you guys. I know this feels really amazing, but why are you so authoritarian? And what is all this about, And I was a little confused. And actually, in one of those pictures, my mother wasn't so happy, and they were seeing that I was seeing my mother who wasn't so happy. And they were saying strictly, that's not your problem. I was like, whoa, wait a second. And they're like, every soul is really on their own. I'm like, but I don't want to leave my mother like sad because I was departing. They're like, it's none of your business. She's also a grown-up soul, so you shouldn't care. It's like, no. You were telling me to go. I cannot look on the other side. I can only listen to you. This feels amazing, but I cannot see you guys. What do you expect from me? Like just jump into something unknown in the void. And they're also saying once I cross over, I cannot reactivate my body, basically come back in my body. It's like, no. This is like buying something in a bag. And I was like, I want to return. And they were like, give us a reason why you want to return. They told me I have free will. They didn't use the term free will. They say you can go back, but we advise you to go. And then I was asking why, and they were saying it's better. I was like, okay, this is a little bit, I wasn't saying weird, but from this feeling space and this beautiful unconditional love, there was a little notion of, this is weird, as there was a little notion of personality, which was really, really surprising and bigger than the I personality that is here in my body, basically, which is interesting. And so I was like, okay, love and relationships. And they're like looking on some kind of list, or I don't know what. They didn't have paper, but they were kind of like making a gesture. I was feeling it, like some scrutinizing something like, yeah, this is a good one. And I was like, okay. And then the most intense part of this experience happened. Actually, I snapped in my body, and my entire body was trembling, and I was sweating, and my heart was racing, but really, really fast, and I was so much in fear. And my heart started really to race, but at a piece like dun, 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 like really, really fast. And then it felt like it wasn't beating for 10 or 15 seconds. And then it started again, and was just, okay, I had one thought in my head: I have to get out of this alive. Which is pretty weird if you look at it from the other side, like from because you were just dying and then your body got reactivated, which is so much energy for your heart chakra, which bursts open at that moment. And your physical body is always the part which catches up the latest with all that energy. So when the soul gets back into the body and puts life again in it, the body just is completely, how should I say, short-circuited with energy. And that was exactly what was happening. And it was like having one thought in my head: get to the fridge, get some bananas, get some like potassium, get some minerals to survive this. And I could barely work because my legs were shaking, my hands were shaking, and it was really, really intense. I don't know, it was one of those moving per default movements where you just kind of try to do something half consciously, half with fear and panic. And I was getting to the fridge, getting those bananas, and somewhat falling back in bed. And it was about 4 o'clock in the morning, or 5 or something. It was still dark, but yet a little gray. And I was just I don't know, I don't want to say praying, but I was somewhat like fighting with this huge fear of like, just stay in here, just live, just, And slowly my heart rate racing was slowing down and my heartbeat was normalizing. And I was calming down a little. I was just passing out at some moment. And the next morning, I don't know, woke up quite late. I was just looking around and I was like, what was happening? Was this even real? It was so intense that I was completely confused about everything, basically. I was just looking around and touching the skin, and like it was way too intense just to be a nightmare, but it was so intense that I questioned everything, even that experience. And from that moment on, I took a break about yoga and chanting and meditation and whatnot. I was like, whoa, whoa, give me a break. That was just too much. And the interesting thing is, this happened in Mauritania, where people have a really, really heartfelt understanding about spirituality, a deep sense of love and spirituality, but they have no rational and intellectual explanation about it. And I had no really, well, I had one book about yoga in German and one in English. And they didn't even talk about the concept of out of body or whatnot. So I had no way to rationalize it. So I was putting it into the category of like hallucination from the mosquito disease. Till later, I was actually coming back to that experience, and I was like, no way. This was so much more than just that one. And yeah, so that was one of those big moments. I would say
Huge.
a huge one on its own. And I call this the first big wake up call, but this one wasn't enough to really wake me up, because meanwhile, after coming back to Germany, I was going for marathon running and working in gastronomy and trying to fit into the normal society and denying my gifts, quote unquote, running away from my talents. And this didn't work out so well. So basically, the universe, my guides to whom I didn't listen, they were making me so nervous and crazy to take that job. And they knew that if I was running and training for professional marathons and taking that job, I would just ruin my body. And so that was my second wake-up call, where I ended up basically laying 12 months in bed with an injured back and a broken bone because of overstrain and longitude. And this is where my second wake-up call slowly stepped in, seducing the overtrained part of my ego about wanting to fit into this society and be quote unquote normal, where I kind of like started to move into my fears and my past traumas, which actually resulted in this lower back injury. Of course, overstrain and running a lot and working a lot is a physical component, but there's a spiritual root to it. And this goes back to my birth and way deeper. And so I was like, okay, I stopped running for myself. I got the message. I love you all. Okay. I'm just admitting to my gifts. And I'm willing to feel all this pain and move into all those feelings. And okay. I'm giving up to try to be normal. Here I am. so yeah, that's it in a nutshell, with many, many little deviations on the road. And to sum it up, like basically my gifts were, since I was born, that I was physically internalizing feelings of other people and getting their emotions in my emotional centers, and kind of like having a way of precognition, having an idea what they're thinking about, or sometimes even getting their thoughts and not being able to differentiate between their thoughts in my head or my thoughts. And so it was quite confusing till I made this connection. It's actually possible to have somebody else's thoughts in your head and thinking they're yours if you're not monitoring them quite well and paying, how should I say, careful attention to the slight changes in vibration, which are not always there, we have to say. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes they could be so subtle that it's very, you really have to be watching.
Oh, yeah.
And, but it's a beautiful story and beautifully told. It reminds me of pieces of really of both of our stories, but it really reminds me of mine, because I ran away when I had a deeply spiritual experience like that when I was in my 20s, my young 20s, and but I managed to run away for like 20 some odd years. I was 45, I guess. when did I have 44 or 45, and then I croaked again. I might as well die twice, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Uh,
if it doesn't work the first time.
yeah, it's like, what do we got to do with this cat, you know, to get his attention?
And I can relate to the back thing because when I deviated and started going, I don't know where I was going, I broke my back, and that put me flat out for so eventually the health issues became to the point where I didn't have a choice. It was either do what spirit wanted me to do or be in pain for the rest of my life. So
Yeah, it's
what do you
very
do,
often
right?
like this.
Well, and there's something to that be still thing. Mine wasn't my spine, but after I had the brief croaking experience, as I call it, I acted like I was going to get right back up and just keep right on going, and within a couple of weeks, I rapidly lost my ability to walk, and uh, so I had to pretty much sit or lie around for almost a year. Isn't that funny? That 9 months, really, pretty close,
Yeah,
something
it's
like that.
it's really often about 9 or 12 months. There are so many commonalities about spirit actually talking to humans, and their egos like, now you listen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the ego and the survival instinct are like, yeah, we're having none of that. Go, run the other way.
Yeah,
Go.
exactly.
And because I wasn't doing yoga and thing, but I was reading a book on learning how to channel, opening to channel, and then I had this experience. Often, just people go, "What happened?" I said, "Well, I was wanting somebody to talk, and so all of a sudden somebody was talking. It scared me to death." But there was a little more to it. It was a bit of a dramatic. It wasn't exactly like yours, but very energetically similar to what happened to you at 16. And and yeah, I took off like a, well, I suppose you'd have to say bird out of heaven as opposed to bat out of hell, but ran like crazy.
Mm.
And so spirit does seem to have a way of getting our attention if we've made an agreement pretty much with ourselves to do something special while we're here. Seems to me.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also interesting how much the ego is convinced that actually the ego is the self, and how shocked the ego gets when it realizes that it's maybe a glimpse of light, like a little spark in this huge light of your soul, which has been having millions or billions of lives. And it's just a little flavor which adds to the total, like, taste of all the soul, if I might put it this way.
One of the ingredients in the soup.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But it's a huge soup, and it's a little spark, and it goes in there, and it gives a little flavor.
Yeah,
And
but
that's
that
pretty,
that
It is.
pinch of
It,
seasoning, it just wouldn't be right without it.
yeah,
that's
exactly.
true, right? I mean, it has to be there. It's an essential ingredient, but
Yeah, it's
it's
amazing.
very much like a chihuahua. I mean, we can't function in our house without our chihuahua because he's our doorbell, but he's a lot smaller than he thinks he is.
Yes.
And can
He
become
thinks
very
he's
aggressive
huge.
very quickly to try to defend that illusion.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Medium-sized dogs see a really big dog, they kind of think about it. Chihuahua, they just go, jump.
Yes.
They'll attack a Great Dane, I swear. They don't.
They will. I've seen them do it. They're and that's it's a very ego-like personality that Chihuahuas have. Because I mean, that's what they do when they want attention. They get loud.
That's the that's the kind of mirror that they are. Ooh, look at me! Look at me! Don't look over there. Look at
Hi,
me.
yeah, hi, I'm your ego. Rawr, 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 rawr. And but could we live without them? If we had to, but I wouldn't like to.
No, they're too
And
cute.
you know, and I think that the ego gets sometimes it gets a bad rap that, I mean, we have this perception that we're supposed to get rid of the ego completely. And I don't think that why would we have it if we were supposed to get rid of it?
No, the ego is
Be
amazing. I
aware
wouldn't
of
even
it.
go there
Exactly.
where it's a bad thing. I was just like,
Yeah, no, I see your point, but I see people on Facebook and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm deleting my
it's
ego, or I must erase my ego, and well, you pop right
which
out of your body and be
Don't do
gone if
that.
you did. It's part of in part, one of its jobs is to keep us focused here,
yeah,
which
of
is
course. No,
difficult considering who we are.
yeah, and it's also who we are, and this ego spark is going into our overall spark soul, and as long as our soul still have some sense of identity, we could also call this like super ego, or however you want to call it, because ego is a remote sense of identity.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and once it's in the soup, you can't what? How do you get it back out of the soup? You
No,
can't.
you don't want to. This is
You
exactly why
you
you
don't
can.
want to, but it's how do you get a pinch of salt back out of the soup? Or for that matter, once the potatoes have cooked in there, they've taken on flavor. You just it doesn't work like that.
Well, there's
And
good
but the
ways.
ego gets worried about that. Like,
Yeah, that's true. But see,
don't
when
leave me
just
here.
just in terms of soup, when you have too much salt in your soup, you actually make more soup, and then it's tasty. And that's exactly what the soul is doing. When the soul doesn't like the overall taste, it's gathering more and more life perspectives till the overall taste is amazing.
That's actually a really good analogy.
That's
That's a
excellent.
fantastic
Yeah.
analogy, actually. Yeah. I put too much
Yeah.
salt
So
in my soup. Okay, so I'm gonna add some more vegetables. I'm gonna add some more water.
yeah,
I'm gonna add some more vegetable stock,
and
and
we
then
are
I have more
here
soup.
down here, seeing, for example, like the show's like, let's put in some pepper, and we are being this grain of pepper in the life, and we're like, oh my gosh, that's so spicy to be a grain of pepper. So that's ego versus the soul, and that's how it is. Yeah, it's funny to put it that way.
Well, and it is so true because I look back at some of the things that I was absolutely convinced were just the worst that could ever happen and could have no possible benefit for anything, and without them I couldn't do what I do today and
Mm.
be who I be today. And it when you can see that, and it's easier to see in retrospect, I guess, from this perspective. It's like okay, and and part of my challenge is to remember when the pepper or jalapeno moments come, that to try to remember that.
Yeah, that's a great help. I'm there where I don't want to know. I just love those surprises which life is offering all the time to me. So even if I could know from a higher perspective and get there, I'm like, no, 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 no. Just give me this emotional guidance and leave those visions out of here. I love this 3D perspective so much.
Right, and like don't tell me what's in there. I'll unwrap it on Christmas morning.
Exactly. No,
And
this
every
is the
day and
key.
every moment's Christmas, but it uh, channeled entities often will say we're not going to unwrap your presents for you. We're just going to help you be in the present so you can find them. And because it's sort of like you came to Earth to have a physical experience. What you take it away? Probably
Yeah,
not.
exactly. Now you want to be spiritual. Now you want to ascend. Now you want to be in 4D all the time. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I just arrived there where it was, it's not a destination, it's more a path, but basically creating your reality and all this stuff is pretty nice to me. I did it a few times and sometimes I'm doing it, but I'm pretty much there where I was like, hey, why not creating on default with a kind of like overall vibrational intention, but not even an intention, more a direction of flow. So this is one of my favorite ways. Actually, just be in the flow and just dream about things you love and be in your kind of like daydream and live your life and then see how you manifest on default and have those like little manifestational surprises.
Oh, yeah. Default manifesting is like the best. I agree because that's pretty much how we live our lives. We have this energetic collection of desires. This is what we'd like to do, but I've totally let go of how that's all going to happen. I don't plan anything anymore. How am I going to get the dream home? How am I going to get the dream job? How am
Well,
I going to get to travel the world? I
we
don't
tried
plan
that
that stuff. I just,
4 years
yeah,
ago
it
when
doesn't
you and I
work.
first got together. We tried that. Let's plan this
Planning
and do
doesn't
this,
work. Mm.
and now that we've let that go, the method I would have never imagined, but it's all happening. You're in your second dream home.
I'm in my second dream home, and I don't even want to. We're not going to go in and work today, but I mean, for our listeners, just keep your eyes open and see what's coming. It goes back to that. Like I love the word you're using, default manifesting. It's a very simple thing to do if you just get out of the way of spirit. There's nothing wrong with dreaming. There's nothing wrong with wishing and hoping and envisioning and visualizing and imagining and seeing how you would like it to all be. But then get out of spirit's way and let it do its job. Don't tell it how to bring that stuff to you. Just put it out there. This is how I would like to live. And then just keep stepping forward and wait and keep your eyes open and your heart open for the signs that say this way, over here, come over
Just
here.
keep saying
Hello.
yes. Just keep saying
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And thank you. Don't forget to say thank you.
Oh yeah. A little of that
It's
going on.
very
For sure.
important.
Yeah, actually, you're saying thank you with every moment you smile and you're happy to be able to work on this earth. Basically, I was realizing that one when I was driving back from work with my bicycle. I was like, nice. This is so good to be here.
Yeah, in a way, you know, I hate parts of the analogy of parents, but in a way, it's like parents. You can tell them thank you all you want, but what they were really getting the goods off of was watching you open the package and the look on your face and you know, they expect to thank
Excitement.
you. It's a polite thing, but it's the energy that they wanted to share with you. And that's what made them warm the heart of the parent. And I think to some extent it's like that. In
And
that
there's
it's the experience.
absolutely
Have the
nothing
experience.
wrong.
Get the juiciness of the experience, and we'll talk about it later.
Like there's nothing wrong with being a fully grown 40-year-old, 50-year-old kid at Christmas.
Oh
It's
no.
okay. Let that enthusiasm bubble up.
Oh
I
yes.
still like clap my hands together like a little kid when I get what I want. I guess, I'm like, yay! And
Yeah, that's great. You should always let your inner child be wild and free.
absolutely.
And
It's
it is. I like that. I like default. It's some people have used it to say, well, that's what you're doing now. You're creating by default. You want to become a conscious creator.
Well, good.
Well, you
Enjoy that one.
do, but that makes it sound like there's some method that you need to, okay, if I take this and turn the wrench 15
Yeah,
times and do this and
yeah.
or like it's some video game, if I find the jewel, then I can see the princess. Or but it's not like that. It's just
Yes,
being conscious of how you feel, being conscious of your vibration
yes,
and saying yes.
yes, and you'll be surprised because see the interesting part about creating on default and creating by let's say on purpose with modalities. The ego likes those modalities very much, but for example, like the consciousness which is here in 3D, 4D, 5D, and sometimes even 6D if you astral travel and a little bit above that one, doesn't even have an idea to what nice new things you might desire tomorrow. And so when you release all that resistance and that modality and structure, the things you actually create on default are so much nicer and surprising than the things you would be thinking are making you so happy. So that's why also people say like wish for a feeling and not for a thing that you think brings you
yes.
that feeling.
Yeah, and then
Yes.
it results almost in sometimes nearly instant manifestation because a thought
Mm-hmm.
occurs to you or something, some situation or circumstance occurs, and you think, oh, it'd be nice if, and then 5 minutes later that happens. Whereas if
Exactly.
you'd been trying to plan it, when it finally happens, it's like, well, it's about time. Well, how
Yeah.
exciting is that?
Yeah,
How
it's
much
not
fun is
exciting at
that?
all. Not fun at all. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Exactly. This is ego versus soul versus heart, and it's so manifesting so quickly these days. It's incredible. I remember, like, my girlfriend and I, we were just walking down the street and talking about some kind of tattoos, and a minute later I was seeing a microphone in some kind of window, and we were going to buy that microphone, and guess what the guy who sold the microphone was having on his arm? Exactly the kind of tattoo we are talking about.
See, that's just cool. That's just yummy. And
That's fun. That's
Yeah.
yeah,
exactly. That's what makes life fun.
what's like when we went to Costa Rica and couldn't hardly tell what was coming next. Believe me, if I'd have known half that was coming next, I would have questioned going. But it was awesome. Synchromysticism.
Yeah.
That's the subtitle of Niki's book, is The Journey of a Synchro Mystic.
Nice.
Because we glued that together on the radio one day, didn't we?
Yeah, and it made a lot of sense.
Mysticism and synchromysticism. Yeah, that's it.
But it's a good way to live. It's a fun way to live.
Yes.
And it's funny when people come to me and they're like, "You're such a master manifester. How do you do it?" I don't know.
I don't
do it. I don't do it. I'm just happy. I just pour out this enthusiasm and appreciation for life and all the blessings I've received, and I swim in the energy of the feelings of the times in my life when I felt the most joy. And that's, if I'm having a bad day, that's where I go in my head and in my heart. I take a still moment and I go back to, okay, when did I feel really, really good? And I just stay there for a few minutes and remember what that felt like, remember what that smelt like, remember what it sounded like. And pretty soon my day turns around. Without me thinking this is what needs to happen. And that's,
or,
I think,
or
that's
figuring out how we're going to solve this
work
problem.
Yeah. How am I going to solve this problem?
Boy, I've tried
I don't solve problems
for
anymore.
years, and it never worked really very well. And
yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting how
you just turn it loose, say yes, and follow along. Really.
Yeah, and it's interesting how you will be presented like right away with some opportunity to actually resolve that thing you were thinking to solve in a much easier, nicer way, and you're like, what? Really? Okay, nice.
Yeah, and we get glimpses of it. It's not uncommon for people to be trying to remember somebody's name and then say, well, if I stop trying to remember, it'll come to me. And they go on talking, and then bang, it comes to them. Well, there's your example. If you're waiting for a sign, this here, because that's exactly how it works on the grand scale.
Sometimes those signs are so big and so much in people's faces that they're like, where's the sign? Where's the sign? Almost like, I don't know, looking at the forest and not seeing the trees.
Can't see the forest for the trees. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, we've just about reached our halfway point, and I almost hate to have to.
Tea.
It's time for tea, time for music, and goodness, what? Maybe Anthony Salata, Jordan Okren, something.
Either or.
It's all good. I think maybe though Anthony with his Rise Up and Lead, which is
there you go.
The title of the album is Rise, and the song's called something else, but Rise is the word I always remember, and it is that we're going to rise up and lead. So we'll play that for you guys while we grab a cup of tea, and we'll be back and chat more, because this is fascinating and lots of fun. It's very, very much fun to run into people, family that get it. So listen, and maybe you'll get it too. See, works. It rubbed off on me, and gosh, if that can happen, wow. What was it you said the other day, Niki?
If I could do it.
They say you'll never turn around the rich people. Yeah, I grew up in a big fancy house. I don't live in one now, but
it's true.
Hey, if I can do it.
It's true. It's true. When people say to me, yeah, but the wealthy will never give up their status, their power. They'll never see the world the way you see it. You grew up in that energy. You grew up in that really like
college
private
preparatory
jets
school and private jets and
yeah,
Ivy League schools.
right?
Yeah.
So
More of my alumni
there's
friends
your
are doctors and
answer.
lawyers than anything else. A couple of judges, and then there's about I don't know, handful of us, 6, 7 of us that are sort of just hanging out, having fun, wondering why our friends aren't having any fun. You can tell by looking at their face. Their face all squinched up all the time. Okay, lest I digress even further, here's our friend Anthony Tallata with his song Lead, and we'll be right back. Stick with us, folks. All right, welcome back, everybody. Again, that was our friend Anthony Tallata, and you can find out about him at his website, anthonytallata.com, and that's T-I-L-L, or no, T-I-L-O-T-T-A. Yeah? Lata. Yeah. Tallata. 2 T's, one L. Three T's, really. Starts with a T. Oh, okay. AnthonyTallata.com. Go by and check him out. Rising Canadian music star. Awesome stuff. But we're back here with rising German star of freedom and empowerment, Kasimir Kurt, that we were just talking about how much fun life is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's getting harder to remember the days when it wasn't that way, but it used to irritate me when people would say that back then. I remember that. Because it does. People do this. I did, How do you do that? And they say, I don't know. It seemed like fun. And you go, what? That's how do I do that? But this is how, peeps.
Yes. Yeah, it's impossible to do and very easy to allow. But it's also not all sunshine all the time. I also do shadow work and a lot of like healing stuff. And I also want to touch on the importance actually about feeling the true feelings and then not always escaping as some people might want or are doing on the happy cloud. Like when I have a bad day, I just live in that emotion unless a situation really asks me to change that vibration as a part of my healing of my subconscious and the subconscious vibration. So it's even nicer when you allow all the amplitudes of emotions denser and more lighter because we are in duality and it's giving even more contrast.
No, and it's vitally important because it is what's here.
Yes.
Lord, heaven knows I still have my bad days. I generally don't have bad months anymore, and I used to have those. But
yeah, but they're different.
You
they
have
have a
to
warming undertone to them.
you have
Something
to
changes
take ownership of the feeling, or you can't do anything about it. And sometimes it's just there to experience it, frankly.
Exactly. And I think there's also something to be said in general for all those people who are listening and who maybe don't know this already. It's that feelings are really real. Your feelings are really real and they're connected to a real physical part of your body. So some people might neglect their feelings at some point and say, yeah, I just changed that vibration and it's not important. They actually dare to tell you something, what is happening around you with energies of other people, or even about some aspect of yourself that wants to be healed in the way that they manifest in, for example, some lower back pain or some headaches or whatnot. And by going into the feeling, the physical component literally shifts, and it can be that fast that, for example, when you have a lower back pain and you feel like your disc is kind of squinching on your nerve and you go into that feeling, your disc pops right in alignment, and actually that tense feeling can move up your disc and even shake those discs which are healthy. And that's really, really surprising. Like, I would say always go for the experience and convince your ego, experience it for yourself and see what's in those feelings, in those deeper realms of experience.
right? Because there's always a message.
Yes, and it's real, quote unquote, because many people are like, okay, this is spirituality, I can be happier, but they are not 100% there where they have experienced that it can be really physical. They may be there where they can create tingling and heat and cold in their body parts, but maybe not where they can literally move internal body parts as discs, for example, or heal themselves to the degree where it's really, really, let's say, seeable, feelable, and remarkable also from the outside. For example, like when you start to heal your eyesight and you had like 2 or 3 dioptry or something, people really starting like, whoa, how do you do this? Like there's something happening there. And you're like, well, this is the inner work. There are many modalities, but this stuff is real. And of course, there are different levels. For example, working on water is another level. I'm not there. But I don't want to be there, I want to be in 3D and just enjoy all those beautiful feelings. But this stuff is real, and emotions are the key to it, actually.
Yeah, they're far more real than all this stuff, desks and cell phones and computers and clocks and things that are around here.
Yeah, but that's the funny part, is that it's like a hologram which is convincing you that it is the only reality. And actually, it's just a glimpse of the entire universe, and all the stuff which is behind it's actually pure love in different forms and shapes. And this is a masterpiece in itself, actually.
Absolutely. It's just different experiences, frequencies, things, feelings,
Yeah, and the ego is so convinced. It's almost like if your soul has this like machine called body, this device where its consciousness plugs into and gets a limited perspective and thinks that everything it touches is completely real. And this is so amazing. And the most funny part about this is actually once you're here, you're like, I want to get out of here. I don't want to feel cold. I don't want to feel this. Until you realize that, okay, this is amazing. And then you don't really want to go.
You're like, I want the emergency evacuation. Get me out of here. What the heck was I? And the spirit's answer is generally, that's not what you signed up for. That's not what you said when you left.
Yeah. And this is interesting. There's some saying like life is like a roller coaster ride. And actually, I'm somebody who is quite sensitive with with the nervous system and whatnot. So let's say a swing on a children's playground is quite fast for me. And the universe wanted me to go to a how I should say, roller coaster park. So I went the first time in my life to a big roller coaster park, and we took the biggest roller coaster. Oh my God. And once you're on this thing, you cannot get out of it. And this is quite interesting, actually, once you're there. And the only thing you can really do is kind of like close your eyes, grip the handlebars and scream your lungs out and relax into this releasing. I called it, I made even a Facebook post about this one. Trauma releasing process, root chakra trauma releasing process through roller coaster rides. And afterwards, I released a huge part of resistance, but it was really interesting. And this analogy with life and the roller coaster ride, it's somewhat there. Like once you're here,
well, and it's
experience.
There's
a and scream.
American comedian that finally wound up killing himself, actually. But he did this piece on, remember everybody, it's just a ride. It's brightly colored and it's got flashing lights, and it sometimes you've been on the ride for a while, you start to, is this a ride? Is this real? What is it? But you got to remember, it's just a ride.
Mm.
And to me, that takes a lot of the can be used to take a lot of the pressure off. Oh, I got to hurry up and do something because you're going to be out of time. You're going to be this and you're going to be that. No, don't do that. That might get you. And, I don't know.
Yeah, this is the interesting part. Like, this is why I actually started to step out there and reconnect people to their guides and to their intuition, to their sixth sense. Because when you follow your heart, your intuition, and you listen to your guides on a feeling level, your ego has no clue how and why. You just know that this path feels better than that path and that those other paths. And you follow that feeling and you'll be surprised how much nice surprises actually you have out of that one. And the same was going with the roller coaster park. My guides were like, yeah, you know what you're signing up, right? And they gave me a vibrational pre-taste of that event. I was like, okay, but you kind of like manifested that into my life, so I was signing up for it. And I'm not near to do this anytime soon anymore, but I'm glad that I did it. Because I don't know, it grounded me in some ways, which I haven't expected at all. Like, I'm always grounding myself, but this is the interesting thing about grounding. Grounding at the same time also puts you more into the clouds, and everything that is adrenaline based and intellectually based is really, really grounding. So I would say, if you're really in for extreme grounding and you're psychic and you're up for something big and safe, try the roller coaster thing, because you'll feel so physical as you might have only felt after birth or something. Because it's really an extreme and an intense experience.
Oh, it absolutely does. I'll never forget the first time I was on one and didn't know what was going to happen next and all of that. My survival instinct went bananas.
Yes.
It turned on every light in the body. Everything was alive, and people say that about war. People say that about a lot of those extraordinarily intense experiences where you just are so. I think one of the things it does is that your body screaming that loud pulls you right into that moment, and can't have anything else going on, really.
This depends. It goes in both directions. Actually, for me, it was the opposite. It was numbing me out because of all the adrenaline. I'm always so high in consciousness that it's really difficult for me to stay in body, quote unquote. I'm always getting the thought patterns of my people, basically my classmates or my co-workers or whatnot. And so this experience just jammed me into my body and was shutting my psychic senses down, quote unquote, to only 20% open, which was really, really. So for some, it might be a awakening and energizing.
But that's what I mean. It pulls you into just right here, right now. Eyeballs, sweat glands, hands holding rail. It's extraordinarily physical.
Yes, this definitely, and it's really reptilian brain survival instinct shutting down the rest of your brain somehow, just wanting to get out of there alive or something, screaming. I mean, there are some photos on Facebook, so if you guys want to have a look, like seeing me screaming somewhere before vertical drop or American roller coaster, you can go ahead. But this is like really, really, interesting and intense, because afterwards there was a feeling of more connectedness in a physical way with everyday people, because many people, we should also mention that one, are going there to feel alive because they are numbed out by overworking or not getting in touch with their emotions and their traumas. And so actually for them to feel some adrenaline or some joy, they go there. And if you're already there where you have the joy and the sensitivity and everything, for you it's actually completely the opposite. For you it's more like a horror ride or something. But you see the difference in the faces when you look at the pictures. For example, I was screaming and I wasn't looking relaxed. And anyways, and some people were even smiling on that ride, like, whoa, oh my god. Well, anyways, this much
But
about roller coasters.
Well, I think too it gives you more insight. You say you felt more connected. Having almost the complete disconnection of everything else.
Yes.
You then had an expanded framework, so to speak, to be able to put to use. I think those intensely physical experiences are part of the deal. That's when some people talk about, like you said, when some people talk about grounding.
Yes.
We're here, and when you spend a lot of time doing, as usually as soon as we get off from taping a show, I, drink some water, go walk the dog, look at trees, grass, oh, earth, hey, earth again, hi, because we really do, Skype or no Skype, we kind of create a little virtual sandbox where we come together and sit around the campfire and tell stories.
Yes.
And people do it a lot, and it like you say, you can use those for the runaway thing but I think some of the numbness, I think society is sort of geared towards adrenaline and that people are adrenaline junkies.
Oh, of course, it's an old pattern, and the bigger part of it was intentionally. Actually, there's some people about, yeah, and it's planned and this and that, and I'm like, no, 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 no. Once you get the bigger picture, actually understand how perfectly this is working to keep us in 3D. Otherwise, the 3D wouldn't even be able to exist. Of course, there are little things from our human
Yeah,
perspective which we are changing right now: more organic, more rights, more freedom, and dissolving borders and whatnot. But
absolutely.
if you have the overall perspective that even 3D could exist as a masterpiece. So we had
Well,
to,
you
yeah,
have some beautiful dream about some beautiful place with beautiful people and just float off and be over there. And pretty soon nobody'd be here. But it's like that. Like I said, part of the ego's job is to hold you focused here.
exactly. And that's beautiful in itself. I mean, what we are initially is pure love. And so everything that isn't love can be experienced here on 3D. Pain, cold, nervousness, tiredness. You don't have that stuff at home, I call it so. So to realize that is also something really special. And that's why we are here right now. And that's why things didn't change that fast.
Yeah, and that some of the that there needs to be, I think, this recognition that there has to be it's a duality experience. It's an imperfect experience. So perfect can't
Mm-hmm.
experience it. So if there isn't something, you know, it's like I know people that have just been after, and they're like, I've just got this one issue left, and I've had EFT, and I've talked to psychics, and I've had counselors, and I just this one issue. Well, maybe that's your anchor that helps hold you here. You. There's always something.
Mm.
To me, there's got to be something, or you just pop right out of your body, and you can't stay. You just can't. It's too much.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get the whole. I mean, listen, we were spirit, and then we came in to do this physical thing. So why spend an entire lifetime in physicality trying to get back to what you were before you came? You
Yes,
came to do this. Do
yes,
this.
exactly.
Have fun doing it.
Exactly.
That's
This
what
is
you're here to do.
Yes, exactly. This is why I have a regular daytime job too, and just a regular life, apart from my abilities and stuff I do just as quote unquote a hobby.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I'm a mom. I have a house. Listen, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. It
Yes,
doesn't change anything to know where you came from, except for maybe make the journey a little more entertaining. To
yeah,
me,
and
that's
maybe
really
share
all it
some
does. It
more
makes it more
consciously.
fun. Yeah.
Because you're already sharing so much subconsciously. The biggest part of the picture happens subconsciously. And the only difference, as I like to tell, because between enlightened people, psychics, and quote unquote regular people, is that those guys are more connected with the subconscious. And once you are more connected with the subconscious, the greater subconscious and the subconscious of your own mind and the energies behind it and your soul and soul path, you get a bigger picture, and your ego has the right to know a little bit more and have a little bit more abilities. That's all.
it's just a natural progression. It really is. But
Yes.
it I like to take okay, so I have to have this one issue, or I'd pop out of my body. Okay. Well, then you can take that and apply to the whole thing. We get this, people have this like sneaking suspicion. I know light workers all sort of go through a period where they're, the conspiracy. And somewhere back in time,
Mm-hmm.
there was a group
Yep.
of enlightened people that figured out how to dumb us down. Yeah, it was
Mm-hmm.
us figuring out how to get all the way into physical reality. Once upon a time,
Right.
we were just spirit. And you got to change that vibration to be able to be physical in duality. And yeah, you could say it's dumbing down. It's a bad term, but that's I think what people are feeling is that it takes a lot to keep you grounded in a physical body,
Yes.
considering who we really are.
Yes. And the
Yeah.
beautiful part is like when you trust your feelings and you follow your feelings, this is the thing. You can still be in 3D and you can still do your life and everything, and you can have your heart in the higher dimensions. And that's the most beautiful like marriage or merge of those two essences, because it doesn't put the necessity to end 3D as long as we don't want to end it because it's so amazing and beautiful. But yet, for example, to kind of like reduce the suffering in terms of animal slaughter and stuff. Not that those souls and those animals didn't know what they were getting into. They knew it exactly, and they were signing the contract, if you want. So, but nonetheless, I'm not doing it. I'm not eating meat because I just don't like it. And I don't want to kind of like do this stuff, even if they have been agreeing upon. So I come from this perspective. I'm like, yeah, amazing. Okay, I'm here, so I do this, and because I like it. So yeah,
And it removes the need to try to go fix everybody else.
exactly.
Yes.
That
And that's important.
Yeah, because that's a big distraction that we give ourselves often. Is well, if I can just stop everybody that's doing that, then we'll have whatever it is we're after,
Yeah,
world
yeah,
peace, or
exactly.
what you
Uh,
know.
yeah,
People say, well, will there always be wars? And well, probably not world wars, and maybe not even with guns, maybe just in video games. But what if this is the only place in creation where you can have a war? What if
maybe
this
there will
is
be
what
cake
if
fight,
what if
vegan
this is
cake
the only
fight.
place in creation that you can experience that?
Yes,
What are we
exactly.
going to
Oh,
turn? We going to shut it down? Okay, no more roller coaster for you. Oh, yeah, come on.
yeah,
But
I
it does.
guess.
It removes all of that. I've got to find somebody that did the thing. We
Yeah.
did it. We did it. You know. Oh, the forces conspired to hide Nikola Tesla's best. Yeah, we did. Said, oh, wait, too soon for that. When blow
Yeah.
something up. turn that and be quiet about that for a minute, would you, dude? And
all the things that we've done to slow our evolution so that we can actually enjoy the process of our evolution.
I mean, let's face it, people. You want the experience of waking up, you got to go to sleep first. It's just part of the deal.
Yes.
I see
Exactly.
people know,
Exactly.
they post on Facebook, well, I better go to bed so I can wake up tomorrow.
Mm.
And but they're saying about it in a negative way. It is part of the game. It's part of the thing that we set up and said, let's go do this. Really?
Yeah, and people are there where they want to escape and stuff, and I always tell them it's delicious. Just love your life and enjoy. And if you are kind of like procrastinating or being there where like I want to ascend, I want to do this, I want to do that. I mean, if it's really your heart's wish to ascend, go for it. There's some soul paths that want to do that, but most of the souls actually came here to experience that physicality. And like the soul path for every human being is a little bit different. So I'm there where I stopped actually giving those huge and deep insights and just give those little hints left and right and just help people to connect with their own guidance, that they are like, okay, I feel like turning left, I turn left. Okay, nice, thank you. And then they're all surprised with what's kind of like happening and coming on, because the mind has no way to understand what is going to happen tomorrow, but your feelings always do.
Absolutely. I've heard it said the physical mind is not capable of figuring out how things will happen.
Exactly.
It's designed to observe and enjoy and get the juiciness out of how things did happen.
Exactly.
But it's okay, because this isn't all of you. You're more than this, and
Yes.
that part knows how to figure out how things will happen. So
Exactly.
you do your job and
Yeah.
just really sink your teeth into what's happening, because that's
Yeah.
your job.
And you better keep your ears open, otherwise spirit is going to make you feel and break down till you keep your ears open, as it was happening with me.
And you can still have lots of fun. You be a reporter, a
Yeah.
journalist, an internet radio person. You go to Costa Rica to interview people. Well,
Yeah.
you do. You interview people. But you get to go to the beach while you're there, or horseback riding to the waterfall or something.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of fun to be had. But it's just sort of a thing. We said we're going to go do this. Okay, well, here we are. So don't go close yourself in your hotel room and order room service and watch HBO. You could have done that
Yeah.
at home. You
Yeah,
know,
definitely.
I
I
want to
was
go
thinking
where
yesterday.
there's no experience of negativity and what that's where you came from. And yes, you're going back,
Mhm.
but that's not the point. This is the point.
And some of the places I have seen the most light on this planet are in places where you would expect the most darkness.
Yeah.
So embrace that contrast.
Yeah,
It's there for a reason.
that was the contrast you found in the Philippines was you were like, these people are poor like people in US and Canada don't understand, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
Beyond
like
poor.
not
We
just are
can't
they
wrap our
poor,
heads around that kind of poor.
everybody they know is poor. It's just poor. It's just what it is. And but they're all
But they're
laughing and
so
playing
freaking
music
happy.
Exactly.
and
They are, if you want so materialistic poor, but they are not poor from the heart space, from emotions, from love, from the soul side, from
Right.
internal genius. They may be poor because
Right.
they don't have something to eat or something like this, but actually they are more happy than most people in the civilized world.
Absolutely. But without that contrast, without
Yeah.
that like glaring difference between wealth and poverty being up in my face, that's a valuable life lesson and gift that I would not have learned or
Mm.
witnessed. You see,
Wow.
so that's why I keep telling people, embrace that. It's there for a reason.
Exactly.
a
Yeah, and it's also
grand
like, yeah,
contrasty example of it's not circumstances that matter. It's state of being that matters.
yes.
Because their circumstances we would think suck, frankly. And but they're just deliriously happy and hopeful and all those things that we would think don't go together with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously it's not the circumstances, Come on people. You watch the TV and all of that. There's rich people killing themselves and their whole family because they're miserable.
Mm.
They're miserable. They can't see any way forward in life, so they kill
Mm.
themselves.
Yeah.
And you've got people that don't know where they're going to eat next. That you got people living on the top of a garbage dump, laughing and loving each other and talking hopefully about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so do you get it yet? It's not the circumstances. It really is not. And um, you make that vibrational change, and it does. It gets to be like Kasimir's talking about that. You got this hitch in your back, and ooh, what's that? What's that? Oh, really? How could I have thought that? That's silly. And whew, it releases. Get the message. Messenger goes away. Poof.
Yeah.
Your
Sometimes
body.
this proof takes a little longer than just a minute or a week. To
Yeah.
understand, it can take years, but yes, exactly. And I also want to mention that actually your personal level of energy is really crucial to that. Some people are not actually. It's really difficult to understand overall vibration and audiences of people you're talking to. And as we were speaking, actually, I was getting a little message from my guides, and they're like, "Yeah, you guys, you're perfect on track. Exactly, 3D is perfect, and we love it. So please deepen the appreciation for the 3D life," was basically the message I was getting. So I wanted to share that one from my guides with you.
Oh,
And
absolutely. It
yeah,
well, it's the e-ticket ride. I find
Mm-hmm.
it interesting that at Disney
Yeah,
World,
it's
they
yeah.
for a long time the biggest, baddest, most excellent thing you could do was the e-ticket, the Earth ticket.
Yeah, this is really special. And to continue on the energy thing, for example, people, I was mentioning that in a video, but this is really important here also because people talk about manifestation and people, and it's good to convince your ego that you can manifest. And then once you achieve that goal and you convince yourself to release that, for example, it's good to know that you can heal your body. And when your soul really does want to be sick, quote unquote, or get that issue back, you can still have it back. So don't worry about that one. You can always go back into your disease if you want so. But first, try to experience to heal your body and how nice it is, because you have actually both of the possibilities. And to the degree where I'm talking about personal energy, for example, your body is like an energy field, and energy goes in and out, and you have your soul, basically. Most people don't talk about this, and because it's still considered somewhat like secret knowledge, and it resides into your heart. And there are three main types of energies, if you want. So some people categorize them as non-local consciousness, so they don't believe they have a soul or personality, so to speak, and that they just go back as stream as consciousness in the overall soup. Some people see themselves as astral beings, which is true in some cases. And some people see themselves as souled, but this is getting a little bit like, I would say, intellectual concept-wise, and it doesn't really have to do so much with the energy I'm about to talk about. But it ties into that we have energy fields, and we talk about allowing and being into the flow, but we have some kind of energy accumulator in our bodies. And so many people work on manifestations and on being in the flow and being allowing. But imagine when we will just be like energy fields with a source consciousness stream in it. Like people used to talk about those like strings. And I tend to see it in a little different way. For example, when you imagine that you're just a consciousness string to an energy field and you stop to be allowing, you would die quite quickly because the energy wouldn't be flowing into you. So we are all around connected with that energy, but yet we have this energy accumulator in our body, if you want, so of etheric energy. So if you want to work on manifestations, on healing your body, and exactly on changing your perspective, for example, being able to live on a garbage bag or a garbage pile with your wife, we should say at this point that your energy, your vital energy, is crucial to that one, to make bigger manifestations happen, or to be more in this mental space, to be actually that healed or that open that you can receive more love. So that's a great stepping stone. It's not the only way, of course, but it's one of the big ways. But also, like, let's see it from the psychological, intellectual perspective. Those people have been born under those circumstances, and they didn't know anything much different. So we, as kind of like people living in the civilized world, have it sometimes a little bit harder because we haven't been raised with this set of belief as many other people do. For example, in Africa, they have their fixed set of belief, which makes life a little bit easier. And we in the West, we have been trained to question everything for the truth, which isn't always really comfortable. So I always say, knowing doesn't make you always really happy. And just imagine you take one of those garbage kids, which is happy, and it's like, oh yeah, my next life I'm going to be there, and talking with his wife, probably, look, our children, we're going to be there and reborn in this and this, as they believe in India with the system of rebirth and everything. Of course, you never get lost. I know that one already. But you're not necessarily coming back to planet Earth anytime. But anyways, and so they're kind of already making those stories and those dreams, and it helps them a lot. But just imagine you take those guys and you put them to Paris and you give them 10,000 euro to spend, and then you put them back in their circumstances, and then they will feel a little shift of perspective. Or you just teach them this grain of salt critical thinking all the time, or basically looking for mistakes. I mean, it has been so trained into our Western cultures that it's quite a little thing to undo.
Oh, absolutely, it is, and I think it's entirely possible.
Oh, it is.
That was the biggest part of when Spanish explorers or whoever explorers would come upon indigenous peoples. They would look at them from the space of, those poor idiots. They don't know they're naked. They don't know they're suffering. They don't know they're. Well, they weren't.
But exactly, they were there where we want to be today.
You show up and tell them all these things they don't have, and you convince them that they're stupid and that they don't have stuff, and suddenly they all get sick and die.
Yes.
Well, that's what happens when you convince somebody that they're not enough, that they're not okay, that they're not, nobody in those indigenous tribes ever probably even occurred to them the question of, am I good enough?
Yes,
They were
exactly.
just,
They were so much in alignment and happy.
what do you mean, am I good
They were
enough?
just living.
I'm not good
Yes, they were
enough.
living
I'm
happy.
I'm Dances with Wolves. I'm Runs with Beer. I'm whoever,
Yeah.
Me, I was runs with scissors. But really, what if it was not so much that we took germs with us, than that we took the germ
Took
of
fear
I'm not
with
okay,
us.
Of course,
and
that
Doubt,
was the main
fear and
fear,
factor.
judgment
doubt.
and
Yeah.
and and lack of self worth. These people just never would have thought about it. They would have just woke up and gone about their business. They don't. What do you mean? Am I good enough to be here? Am I smart enough? Am I? What are you talking about?
Yes.
And but we convinced them. I think the missionaries were really good at convincing them that they were stupid, poor idiots. And
Well,
and and then the whole tribe would get sick and die. And
well,
it
yeah.
because incompatible vibrations are too far apart.
Exactly. This is what happens. See, when you don't listen to spirit, actually you end up first being immobilized, and then if you don't listen, you're just trying, basically your soul decides to exit this plane of existence to come back in a more aligning space. So those people were so much in alignment that they were deciding just to step out of this crazy, because those people were coming from a purely intellectual space which was so disconnected from the universal love and even their own heart spaces. And it's like really really interesting, because most of those indigenous people and other people, like native people, I would say natural humans I call them, they are so connected to love and the rainforest and wherever they live in the desert, and they really have so much love at heart and deep knowledge. They don't know how, they are not even knowing the word intuition, but it's working. And actually us, like modern people, we're actually getting back there too. And this is really beautiful to see, because it's happening on a huge scale. Even if we are like, okay, 3D is amazing, this 3D is about to shift, and it's really
Well, big
beautiful,
time.
because we are all getting more in touch with our hearts and really really experiencing like, oh my god, I can really heal my lower back. Oh my god, I don't need my glasses anymore. Wow. And it's getting better day by day. Of
Well,
course, you always have your little drawbacks, but then you're like, whoa.
we're blending the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the key to that is that we couldn't do that. We couldn't have that experience of, oh wow, I can do this, if we hadn't first
Forgotten.
thought we couldn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So it's cool. It's all
Yeah.
good. There's no point in being angry about all the past and the histories and the wars and all the
Oh no.
stuff, the mistakes that we've made,
And give it
because
all up.
they're not
Let it all
mistakes.
go.
Exactly. And please don't teach history. Don't teach
We,
all those history classes. I remember when I was born and in school, they always wanted to tell me how bad things have been in the past, and just telling me those
Yes.
things that
Be
we don't
angry.
repeat them. But a healthy, natural human being will never go there. It will never kind of occur to it to kind of like hurt another human being. And then you're going to school and you have all those people teaching you all those things. You can barely read them without freaking out.
well, to me, it's another one of those Earth inversions,
Oh,
you might
yes.
call it, where we get things, society has turned things around backwards. And they say, well, if you don't study history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Oh,
No,
yes. This is so
it's closer
wrong.
to, if you study history, now you're doomed to repeat it.
Well, you're creating it because you're putting that vibration out.
Yeah. You're like, we've got great examples of that in parts of the world where they just say, well, we've always been at war with them and we always will be.
Yes.
And well, why? What did they do? Oh, it was something, 5,000 years ago. Really? Which one of those guys over there did that? Oh, none of them. It was a long time ago. Okay, so why are we doing this? Well, because we always have and we always will. And you see, you look at it from outside and you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But really, when you do,
Right.
you get here, you kind of start exploring around and trying to figure out how all this stuff works, right? You're kind of,
Yeah.
you land here and you can't even feed yourself, and you're like, wait a minute, what's this hungry business about? And I don't understand that. That's new. And you're so you look for examples, but instead of being required like indigenous people were, there were some other people around, but they were more exposed to nature, and nature just does stuff. You know, the lion's not concerned, am I overhunting the herd? Which one should I take today? What? The one it can catch. This one, it is that study of history that partly helps keep us anchored in the mire. And so I think it's time to let go of it. Well, we know, yeah, maybe weather patterns. You could study that. And then people would know that global warming, yes. Did we contribute to it? A little. But it's just natural. The Earth does that. It gets warmer, yes. It gets cooler, it does its own thing. It's got a body temperature system. We're birthing a whole new Earth. It's not surprising to me that Mother is running a little bit of a fever. But it'll probably break soon. And you know what happens when your fever breaks? You feel cold for a moment until you adjust. So I'm just saying, people, make sure your heaters work, even in Arizona. This has been just ecstatically fun. Wouldn't you say, Nikki?
Yeah, a whole lot of laughter in this one and a lot of fun and a lot of really good common, every day will help you get through the day knowledge and wisdom tossed around with a really lighthearted nature to it. So yeah, it has been fun because it's always so serious.
Well, if we don't figure out how to do this, then
spirituality things very serious.
Yeah, I try to point out.
Let it go.
There's just nothing that serious going on down here, people. It's not serious. Is it happening? Yeah, experience it. Go for it. But is it serious? Really? Come on now. Serious. What is this serious of which you speak?
Wrong star system. Just saying.
Well, unless you get kicked by your soul and you remember that, whoa, this is quite big. In this moment, you feel that stuff is quite serious. But yeah, afterwards, you're like, okay, stepping back a few steps. Whew, no, this is not serious.
Yeah, well, it's
absolutely.
It's nothing to be working yourself up and having stress and heart attacks and cancer over, really.
Yeah.
But people are getting it. It's an amazing transition to watch. It's just such a awesome time to be alive on this planet.
Oh, definitely.
What an experience. We got people that, quote unquote, are sound asleep. We got people that are waking up. We got people that are awake. We got, wow. What? Yeah. Got it all. Got some of all of it.
Diversity is awesome.
It's a big amusement park. Lots of rides.
Yeah, definitely. And I was just about to say, unless you're on that roller coaster and it's going slowly to the vertical drop, then you are like, oh my God, this is so serious. And once you in the moment, you're like, it's not that serious. And once you get off that roller coaster, you're like, really?
That's kind of where we came up with this, image of us on the show coming together around a fire or a sandbox to chit chat about our experiences. I think that it can be to some extent kind of like that. Back home, you've gone to take a nap in a hammock and you're having a daydream. And then when you get up, you're all excited to go tell your friends about your experience because we share things pretty well over there. But that's a whole nother show, peeps.
That's an understatement.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break to have some important words from our friends. And when we come back, we want to get you to tell us all about your website and Facebook pages and Facey Spaces, and so that people can find you. And because even if you don't need therapy, he's tons of fun to talk to. Can't you tell? Mm-hmm. So we want to be sure everybody knows how to get in touch with you. But we'll have these little words from our friends. And we'll be right back. Stick with us, folks. All right. So, Kasimir, tell us, where do we go? How do we find out more about you and the intuitive gifts that you're sharing with people? And where do folks find you on the internet and all of that?
Well, basically, my website is kasimirslightworks.com. And you can type it in on Google, you will find it. It's about the first search results that will pop up. And I'm also on Facebook and on YouTube under Kasimir Kurt.
Mm-hmm.
So I make new videos every Sunday. and I post interviews like on Monday or during the week or whenever. But basically, there will be a new video every Sunday. And so you can reach me through my website or just message me on YouTube or on Facebook, basically. And I also have those short links on my website. So when you want to sign up for an intuitive session or just an interview or something, you can directly click on the button and kind of like reserve your spot on my website. But you can also just send me email. I mean, I'm on Google Plus, Twitter, almost everywhere.
If you can't find him, you're not looking, folks. And just for clarity's sake, it's Kasimir, Kasimir, because the pronunciation can be funny.
Yes.
From language to language. One of the things I'm glad that I studied Latin about is because I kind of learned that in there. But so Kasimir, Kasimir, and probably the rest will work itself out. How many Kasimir Lightworks are there going to be? So Kasimir'sLightworks.com or Kasimir Kurt, Facebook. Piece of cake. Thanks so much for carving some time out and coming and playing with us in our sandbox. It's been tons of fun.
Definitely. Thank you.
We'll have to do it again sometime.
I would love to. And the beautiful thing is this energy is radiating out as we do this.
Absolutely. Feel free, folks, when you're listening, whether it's, you just now listening, whether the day we release it or 6 months from now, just dive right into the energy. It's right in there. Have a little swim. Come on in. The water's fine. All right. So, want to get everybody to drop by our website at everydayconnection.me and do sign up for our mailing list while you're there. The form's right there at the top right of our page. At least it is right now today. But you can also find it on our Facebook page right up there on the top row. Sign up for the mailing list, newsletter. Or I think it says newsletter sign up on Facebook. It says something that's obviously sign up here. And because we have some exciting things coming, and we're going to, I'm going to try to be sure that we get newsletters out much more regularly to let you guys know what's coming and what to look for. So we like to tease people about what they're getting for Christmas.
Yes.
And, but yeah, poke around while you're there. We've got this is like show number 305, I think, or something. Mm-hmm. We have lots of fun and juiciness on there. So join us again for our next yummy conversation. But until then.
To our mother, to each other, and especially to yourselves, stay connected.
Have a great now, everybody. Join Richard and Niki again next time. Until then, visit their website at everydayconnection.me and subscribe for news and updates. Stop by their Facebook page at facebook.com/everydayconnection and join the conversation. You can also subscribe on iTunes by searching for Everyday Connection Radio. Subscriptions are free, just like your Everyday Connection.